It's time to start thinking about Rodney Terry becoming the guy for Texas basketball. Anthony Richardson might not be from the planet Earth, and grab your nitroglycerin pills, folks. March Madness is just around the corner. All this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
Coming back to that 2021 MVP. He's better than Josh Allen. He's better than Baker Mayfield. He's not better than Mahomes. I can't say that.
What specific kick you get kicked?
You know, a bag of money or whatever, some food inside of them. No, that is a great answer. How dare you boo this man.
Good evening and welcome into the spring break edition of College Crossfire, the best collegiate sports debate show on the planet, unless it comes to equipment. As you see, we're in a preposterous situation tonight, thanks to TSTV. Gonna have to pass this mic around. But regardless, we're here, we're live. I'm your host, Tommy Yarrish. We've got a good one lined up for you. Let's go ahead and meet our contestants. On first base, he's our returning champion who joined us last week after a long time away. Welcome back, Mr. Adam Ogburn. Adam, how are you doing, man?
Doing good, Tommy. Fired up to be back. Best month of the year right now. Conference tournaments in full swing. March Madness coming up. We got a lot to talk about tonight. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
We're going to have to get used to passing this mic around to each other. Next to him on second base, he was in the studio last week and allegedly yelling behind the scenes at the screen with his answers, thinking that he could and should have won the episode. Now he has a chance to win it this week before he takes off to Cabo. It's Robert Gonsulin. How are you, Robert?
You know, thanks for having me, Tommy. I feel the same confidence this week as I did last week in the back of the studio. First time on this semester, so let's get rolling.
We appreciate you joining us before your flight. I would have left for Cabo several days early. And last but certainly not least, he's got a strap on the basketball court from beyond the arc, but he's not Ja Morant. Instead, it's Ikey Kohler. Welcome, Ikey. How are you doing, man?
I love the comparison to, playing well on the basketball court. I appreciate the shout out, but I'm doing great. I'm ready to get going. We got March Madness. Well, we are in March Madness. I'm ready for Selection Sundays in 4 days, so let's get going.
I appreciate you saying the comparison to the basketball court and not Ja Morant, especially now. Anyways, thank you all but we don't want to compare you to Ja Morant tonight, Ikey. Thank you all so much. Our stage manager, Goose, loved that. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Let's go ahead and get started. After Chris Beard was fired, Rodney Terry was given the keys to a top 10 program in the nation in his first head coaching assignment since his 3 years at UTEP back in 2018 to 2021. He went 16-7, kept Texas in the top 10 for most of the regular season, and has put Texas in a position for a number 2 seed in the Big 12 and NCAA tournaments. Contestants, is Rodney Terry the guy for Texas basketball? Adam, we'll start with you.
Tommy, I hate to come after you this early in the show. This is a bad question. It's asked 3 weeks too early. Championships are won in March. Jobs are also secured in March. Look at Shaka Smart. Took Texas to a Big 12 conference title. What happened a week later? They lost to the 14 seed Abilene Christian. A couple weeks after that, he was up at Marquette. That Rodney Terry's job will depend how the Longhorns do in March this year. If they fall out in that first weekend, Chris Del Conte is going to want to make a splashy hire. I think Rodney Terry, if they get the second weekend, should get the job. We've seen the relationship he has with some of the future Texas recruits coming in, especially Ron Holland. He's obviously a well-respected guy. Texas in the Big 12, last team to lose 2 games in a row in a conference that was absolutely brutal this year. So I think he's shown in the regular season. If he gets to the second weekend, yes, he's the right guy for the job, but we won't know for another couple weeks.
Now, the rest of the show, you guys just pass the mic to each other so that we don't have to hand it back to me anytime, and I'll announce your points at the end. But I do want to take it back this time to go back to this question so that you can read it a little bit better and not call it a bad question. I'm not going to get called out on my own show. It very clearly says, according to the regular season, I agree with you, the jobs are earned in March, so that's why I specified, according to the regular season. Don't attack my questions. What do you think you're doing? Robert, your thoughts?
All right, Tommy, so I'm going to get right to the answer. Yes, Rodney Terry should come back next season as Texas' head coach based on the regular season. 16-7 after Beard's departure, and right now, regular season, final AP top 25, he's in the AP top 10. We didn't end up there. I checked last year. We didn't end up in the AP top 10 right before the Big 12 tournament, did we? No. And listen, How many interim coaches do you see besides Ed Orgeron of LSU and LSU football? Do you see ultimately just succeed and go even further than they were before as like an assistant coach? Rodney Terry has not only met expectations, he's exceeded them. Right now he's a number 2 seed going into the Big 12 tournament, right behind a very respectable blue blood Kansas. Of course, you don't need to beat yourself up. The Texas basketball team, Rodney Terry, he doesn't need to beat himself up because he's a number 2 seed as an interim coach to Kansas. They're having one of the best seasons ever. Number 2 seed, if anything, you've exceeded expectations.
Robert, I agree with you. Coach Terry has definitely, based on this regular season performance, I think he's won the job. And he has the full belief of his team, his coaching staff, and his fans. I think, there were a couple weeks after Beard departed that there were no press conferences, and I was at the first press conference back, and it was with Coach Terry, Carr, and Timmy Allen. One of the things they've said was, obviously it hurts having Coach Beard not there, but nothing's changed. It's still basketball, and Coach Terry's 10-plus years of head coaching experience is evident in the way they've played. After they let up 106 points to Kansas State at home, then they had a week of grueling defensive practice, and it showed the next week. And after, as I said earlier, they have the full support of the fans. I mean, just look at after the Kansas game on senior night, the arena was packed, and they put on an absolutely stunning performance after losing 2 games in a row for the first time. So I think Rodney Terry is the guy for the job next year.
This is just great passing this mic around, isn't it? Rodney Terry, one of the more respected interim head coaches, regardless of sport. You think about the impact that he's had on basketball recruiting, going all the way back to the role he played in getting Kevin Durant on campus, and now, like you mentioned, he gets guys like Ron Holland and A.J. Johnson here coming up in this next class. If those guys stick their commitment, I think that's definitely a boost for Rodney Terry as well. Robert, you're going to get the 3 here. Ikey, you get the 2. I would give you -1, but we're giving you 1 nonetheless.
Talk to me in 3 weeks.
Okay, buddy. We'll re-ask that question in 3 weeks when we get there. But again, regular season body of work as specified in the question. How dare you? We're staying on topic. Texas men's and women's basketball are in Kansas City right now awaiting the start of the Big 12 tournament. The women's team were the co-champions of the conference, and the men's finished in second, as we mentioned, behind Kansas. What are your expectations for each team heading into the final Big 12 tournament? Robert, we'll start with you.
All right, so the top 2 teams in the AP top 10 from the Big 12 are Texas, and then even better, Kansas. Kansas is the 1 seed heading into the tournament. Texas is the 2 seed. Right now, Texas men's, this is for men's basketball for clarification, Texas men's basketball, at the very least, what they need to do for this tournament is make it to the Big 12 tournament championship. Because at the very least, that would solidify their spot in the NCAA tournament as a number 2 seed. They start out in the second round. They're gonna play the winner of the Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State game. They've beaten both those teams twice. That's 4 wins. And then the winner of that game is gonna play TCU, the winner of the TCU Kansas State game. Texas is 1-1 against both of those teams, meaning out of OU, OSU, K-State, TCU, they know how to play all of those teams. They should have no trouble trying to get to the championship round. If you lose to Kansas, that's fine. You've solidified your spot as the number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, no matter which quadrant you're in. As for the women, win it all. They have beaten the Big 12, each Big 12 team at least 1 time, and they've won the last 10 of the last 12 regular season games. If I'm Big Schaefer, I'm thinking, okay, we have a lot of momentum right now. Let's not let it die out. We need to go in and win it all, and let's go win the entire. We're in a great spot to go win the entire NCAA tournament. Let's go ahead and do it. I think that with your conference, because in women's basketball, there's a couple other conferences that are so talented, but for the Big 12, you should be winning it all.
All right, so I'll start off with the men's. I think a reasonable expectation is for them to make the finals. We've seen Texas hasn't fared too well on neutral sites this year. We saw earlier they got beat by Illinois. As Robert mentioned, they've beaten Oklahoma and Oklahoma State twice. They haven't had a lot of trouble with them. And, I think they need to get to the final. If they end up beating presumably Kansas, but by the way, I believe all the teams on the other side of the bracket have beaten Kansas, so it's not guaranteed that they'll play Kansas. But I think they can get a 1 seed if they go out there and win this tournament. But they're essentially guaranteed a 2 seed where they stand. And as for the women's, I agree that they need to go out there and win the tournament. Right now they're listed as a 4 seed on Joe Lunardi's bracketology, and it's very feasible that they go out there and win. Vic Schaefer last year he took his team far in the tournament, and he's known for winning in March, and I don't see this women's team having a problem with that.
Yeah, not to be an echo chamber with the other guys, but I do agree. I think for the Texas men, I do want to say, I think they actually got a pretty favorable draw in the Big 12 tournament because Baylor's on the other side of the bracket with Kansas. This is a Texas team that found a way to beat Kansas State up in Manhattan. They will be playing Kansas State in a more Kansas Central environment. And if it's not Kansas State, then it's a TCU team that just lost Eddie Lampkin today and could potentially kind of go into maybe a free fall. So I like the bracket set that Texas has. They better be. I would be cheering on Oklahoma State tonight. Oklahoma scares me a little bit more than Oklahoma State because of their offensive output and because of how up and down they've been. Their ups have been really high this year, including a 30-point win over Alabama. So I like Texas's path. I think getting to the championship game should be an expectation. I think once you get there against either Kansas or probably Baylor, it's a toss-up. But I'm glad to see Baylor on the other side of the bracket. For the women, I agree. They've got to win it all. They start off with Texas Tech or K-State. They just beat K-State big. Texas Tech is not a scary team outside of Lubbock. That's where the Lady Longhorns, they lost them up in Lubbock this year, but I don't think they'll be a threat up in Kansas City. Then you've got Oklahoma State and West Virginia, teams that Texas should be on neutral court. And then you go to the final. If it's Baylor, it's a revenge game. You know the Longhorns will be fired up, especially after Rory Harmon's fiery press conference. They're going to have a lot of effort. I think they'll rebound there because they beat Baylor in Waco, and then Oklahoma, they just demolished them in Norman. I like the way the bracket shapes up for really both the men and the women. I think the women should definitely be expected to get done. The men, it's going to be a toss-up when they get there against Kansas or Baylor most likely.
All right, great answers across the board. I have nothing else to add, so you guys covered all the bases, so let's go ahead and distribute the points. Adam, sadly, you get the 3 here. Robert, you get the 2. And Ikey, you'll get the 1. Last question here on this block. Spring football began on Monday, and there's plenty of new faces and familiar veterans on this Texas team. Arch Manning is out trying to learn quickly. Jalen Catalon is looking to become healthy and play at a high level, and that's just a few to name out. Out of everyone on the roster, who is the biggest boom or bust player for Texas this season? Ikey, we'll start on the end with you.
All right, so I'll start off with the quarterback. I'm Quinn Ewers, and the reason being is that Texas coaching staff and fan base, they want to see wins. They want to see productions on the playing field, and if it doesn't happen, he's got Arch Manning. Malik Murphy's nipping at his heels, and but yeah, I've all the faith in him. All the faith in him.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to stay in the backfield. I'm going to look at Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue has done everything the past 2 years except really playing a competitive football game. He skipped his senior year at Klein Kane. Last year, only had 33 rushing yards and very limited action. Actually said he was going to enter the transfer portal at the end of last season. Ended up not doing it, and now he's getting first-team reps with Jonathan Brooks out right now. So I think we're going to learn a lot about Jaden Blue. Tommy, you might have some insight on this. Apparently, he looked good in one-on-one drills today against some of Texas' linebackers. So I think Jaden Blue, this is going to be a chance for him. He's either going to establish himself as one of the top 3 rushers up there with Brooks and Baxter. He's going to either establish him really on top of that pile, or I think he's going to get buried down in the depth chart. So I think Jaden Blue definitely is going to be the definition of either a boom or a bust player. The bust could be transferring out. The boom, he's going to be one of Texas' leading rushers this year.
I'm going to stay with the running back position and go with Cedric Baxter. Now, the running back position is a rotational position in the middle of a football game. You swap running backs in and out. You don't do that with quarterbacks. I know what Steve Sarkisian said about the quarterback position, that, yes, there's going to be a little bit of competition there. Arch is going to try his best to get there. But let's focus on a new player who's actually going to get some reps in a game this year. Cedric Baxter, 6'1", 215 pounds, top of his class at the running back position for 2023. Now, yes, I know Arch Manning, people were, I'm kind of surprised none of the 3 of us had said that, but people are excited to see Arch Manning because of the hard work he's put in, and he's a Manning. But let's also just focus on someone who's actually going to get reps this year. Arch Manning could play, but I feel like just Cedric Baxter, he's going to get more reps. Therefore, let's focus on the person who's also stepping into the shoes of someone who just won the Doak Walker Award.
I like to focus on the backfield here, and this was really tough to distribute out because Jaden Blue, remember, at one point in time was the #1 running back in the nation in his junior year of high school. Phenomenal player, and then you bring in Cedric Baxter, the true #1 player in his class. He looks the part. Jaden Blue looks the part. He's put on good weight, so I like the backfield answer here. Let's go ahead, and we're 3 questions into this one. It's very close, but out in front early with 8 points is Robert. Behind him with 6 is Adam, and last but certainly not least is Ikey with 4. We've got a long way to go. Next set of questions are coming up on College Crossfire. Welcome back into College Crossfire. Quick score update if you're just joining us. Robert leads the way with 8 points. Adam right behind him with 6. And bringing up the end of the line is Ikey with 4. Let's go ahead and kick off our second block now with this. College football's best made their way to Indianapolis last week for the NFL Combine, and players like Anthony Richardson wowed NFL executives and fans alike with their superhuman athletic abilities. Fellas, whose stock do you think rose the most after the Combine's events? Adam, we'll start with you.
I think Anthony Richardson is the answer that probably most people will say just with his freak athleticism, but I'm going to go with another freak athlete who I think is probably flying under most people's radars, who may have caught some attention at the Combine, and that's Zach Kuntz, the tight end out of Old Dominion, 6'7", 255, but listen to these stats. He ran the fastest 3-cone drill out of any tight end at 6'7". He's the first tight end that's as tall as he is at 6'7" to have a 40-inch vertical at the Combine since 2003, and he also ran a 4.55 40-yard dash. But it's not just the Combine either. Now, he was injured last year, but 2 years ago, his last full healthy season, he was second in the NCAA in tight end receiving yards. This guy, he's proven that he can do it on the field. He's also showed that he has some freak athleticism. He's probably going to be an early day 3 guy, but with a Combine like that, he might push into late day 2 for NFL teams looking for a freak athlete at tight end.
Took the words right out of my mouth there, Adam. No, I'm going to go with Zach Kuntz as well from Old Dominion. You know, injured in his final season of playing college football, a surgery-ending injury. So how are you going to come back and go to the Combine? Well, you do a 40-inch broad jump, you do a 4.55 40-yard dash, and a 4.12 shuttle run. Also, he scored a relative athletic score of 10. That's the most perfect score you can get. To end your season of college football, your final season of college football that requires surgery, and then you go to the Combine just a couple months later and you get a perfect score, you lead all the tight ends. I think you're just showing more than improving your draft stock. It's going to be Zach Kuntz out of Old Dominion.
Well, I'm going to go with the Florida quarterback, Anthony Richardson. He started off, he's 6'4", 240, and he ran a 4.43 40. And to put that in, to give you all a reference, that's a tenth slower than the likes of Michael Vick. Okay, so this dude can move. Yeah, I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson. You look at him in college, he wasn't very successful as far as like winning football games, but again, you look at the likes of Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, who are relatively unknown in college, and they've turned out to be superstars. So I think Anthony Richardson.
I like your answer here, Ike. I'm going to go against these combine nerds and give you the three here. In all seriousness, Zach Kuntz, a great choice. Extremely impressive combine. I think, was Bijan Robinson the only other athlete to earn a 10 on the athlete scale, the scale that you mentioned?
Relative athletes?
Yes.
Athletics.
I think Bijan also got a 10 there. And I think Anthony Richardson might have gotten close to that as well.
It might have been.
Would have surprised me. Those are three freak athletes right there. Adam, you get the 2. Robert, you get the 1 here. Second question and last question of this block. While conference tournaments comes first, March Madness is ever so close. Let's go ahead and get a way too early prediction in here, fellas. We're going to look terrible in a couple of weeks. Who do you think is a team that could pull off a big upset in the big dance early? Robert, start us off.
Okay. I'm going to tell you why this team is an underdog, but it's Penn State. Joe Lunardi has them right now at the 11th seed in the bracket. They are 10-10 in the conference, 9th in the standings in the Big Ten. An 11 seed taking on a 6 seed, yes, that's going to be an upset team. Why are they an upset team? Well, they have John R. Wooden Award finalist Jalen Pickett. Jalen Pickett is 4th in assists right now, averaging 7 flat, and he's also averaging 18 points a game. He has that swagger with him. He can really move the ball. You know, to me, the teams that I'm most confident picking, like that are underdog teams in March Madness, are the teams with the players that really stand out. I remember in 2019, John Morant playing for Murray State. They were a 12 seed taking on 5 Marquette. I can't remember anyone who actually wanted to pick Marquette to win that game. Everyone picked 12 seed Murray State because they had John Morant. I think everyone's going to pick 11 seed Penn State to beat St. Mary's because they have Jalen Pickett. He is like the best award in college football. He's a finalist for that. For the women, I'm taking 14 seed Boston University over 3 seed projected 3 seed Notre Dame. Boston University is 23-7 right now, and Notre Dame just came off of a loss to Louisville, meaning their momentum is slowing down, and that team is not invincible. So we're gonna go with Boston University and Penn State.
I'm gonna go with the major. Some people would see it as a major upset, and I'm talking about the mid-major Kennesaw State.
The Owls.
Kennesaw, listen, hear me out. Kennesaw State, they just won the Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament, okay? They won 26 wins this year, and their head coach, he came into a program 4 years ago. His first year, they got 1 win, and instead of going out to the transfer portal, they built a program with recruits, and this is an experienced team, and it sounds a little St. Peter-ish, like very outlandish, but I see it happening right now. They're projected against a team like Marquette. They're at a 14 seed. They could slide down to a 15, but keep an eye out for Kennesaw State.
Hey, if they play Marquette, Ikey, I'm jumping on that boat with you, man, especially with how Shaka's looked in March. But I'm going to go with another mid-major. How about the Drake Bulldogs? They just won the Missouri Valley Conference by 25 points. Tucker DeVry, he's a sophomore, their leading scorer, 19 points a game. Even better, his father's the head coach. That gives me flashbacks. R.J. Hunter hitting a 3 against Baylor to knock out the Bears. Ron Hunter falling off his stool. But, hey, he may be a sophomore. How about Drake's other 4 starters? 2 6-year seniors, 2 5th-year seniors. The Bulldogs have experience, and they play in the Missouri Valley Conference, which gave us Northern Iowa, who knocked off Kansas and Texas in the tournament, and also gave us that Loyola Chicago Final Four run. Jump on board the Drake Bulldogs. They'll probably be in one of those 12-5 matchups. I love the Bulldogs. I love the experience. They're going to make their name known this year in March.
Where is Kennesaw State? Is that even a real place?
Jordan?
They are playing good basketball, though. Drake, I'm not so sold on that one. We're through 2 sets of questions here, and at the top of the board, it's a new, don't you dare. Yeah, I got something for you later, buddy. At the top of the board with 12 points is Robert, and tied for second place are Adam and Ikey. What a comeback from Ikey this round. All of that can change in an instant, though. The rapid-fire round is up next on College Crossfire. It's time for the last 3 questions of the night for us here on College Crossfire, and you know what that means. It's the rapid fire round, where the points are double, so it's anyone's game. If you're new to the show, Rapid Fire is our 3rd and final segment where our contestants will have to answer 3 questions, just like they have in the last 2 rounds, but this time they have no idea what I'll be asking. Everything is off the dome. They say defense wins championships, but that's not true. Rapid Fire wins championships. Let's find out who tonight's champion will be. Here we go. We've talked a lot about the Combine and its respective events, the 40-yard dash, the vertical leaps, catch and drop drills for wide receivers, etc. If you were to head down to Indianapolis, which drill do you think you could do the best in? Anybody can start us off.
I'm going to go with the underrated answer, the shuttle run, only because it tests your agility, your speed, and your athletic quickness. And hey, I'm a mean, lean, athletic machine. Test everything. I'm your go-to guy. Let me just show you in one drill right now. I don't need to run the 40-yard dash for you. I don't need to do the broad jump. Let me just show it all to you in one drill and how quick I am, how quick I can make those cuts. Put me through any NFL offensive line. I'll find the cuts when I need to see them. The shuttle run will show me that.
Well, I'm gonna step behind center and I'm gonna start throwing darts with the QBs. You know, I can throw them short, I can throw them long, and I got some sneaky power behind the ball, and it'll be a tight spiral going too. So it'll be beauty.
So we got sneaky power, mean, lean, athletic machine. Adam, what are you gonna tell us?
Man, unfortunately, unlike Robert, I don't have the agility. I can't make those quick cuts, but with these long legs, you better believe I can get up to speed by 40 yards. Give me the 40-yard dash. You know, I've got what it takes to be a longer run. I can track people down. In soccer, I used to be able to track people down. If you give me about midfield starting point, I'll get to them by the time they get near the goal. So give me the 40-yard dash.
I'm not buying that whatsoever, by the way. I will. I'll smoke you. Creed 3 just came just came out into theaters and did pretty well at the box offices, I think, right? So with that in mind, very basic question here. What's your favorite sports movie? You better give a good reason why, too. That's how you're getting points.
Okay. This is a close one for me, but I think it's going to come down to Rocky 4. I'm a huge Rocky Creed fan. It's not that just Creed 3 is coming out, but Rocky 4 I think is a great sports movie because of all the emotion and depth in the movie with Apollo Creed's death and Rocky going on to avenge his death as Apollo died in the ring. For those who don't know, Rocky steps up, goes to Russia to fight Ivan Drago in his own homeland by himself to avenge his best friend's death in the ring. It just has a lot of emotion. The music soundtrack is great. The training montage that everyone sees a training montage in every sports movie, no matter what it is there's just so much character development and thought and depth and storyline put into that movie. It's got to be Rocky 4. It's the pinnacle of all Rocky movies.
All right, well, I'm going with Moneyball. One, I love baseball. It's a baseball movie, and you know, it documents how the game of baseball changed. And the head coach went into Oakland. They had a low budget, and they said, "Look, we're not going to try to compete with the Joneses. We're not going to try to compete with the Yankees and the Mets, who have sky-high budget. We're going to base it off of analytics, which means looking for hitters that know how to get on base, which means drawing walks, getting hit by pitch." And it was a time when everyone was telling him, people were telling him he was going to be working at Dick's Sporting Goods the next year. And it's very inspirational, and it's pretty cool to see how the game of baseball changed. Now you got teams, shifting around on defense, and everything's about analytics, and it all started with Moneyball.
I'm going to go with Glory Road. It tells the story of the Texas Wesleyan basketball team that won the national championship against Kentucky. I'm getting lectured backstage. Texas Wesleyan, they won with an all-black starting 5. I think it's a story that doesn't get told enough. The movie doesn't shy away from the racism that this team faced. It deals with a really tough topic, but it shows people what this team fought through. And it kind of just shows the history for a team I think that often gets forgotten. So I'm going to go with Glory Road for my favorite sports movie.
All right, I don't see any wrong answers there, so great answers across the board. That means it all comes down to this last question. It's our spring break special here on College Crossfire, so we're going to ask a spring break related question. Let's say you've got some cash left over from this semester. You get to go wherever you want. You can bring some buddies, go by yourself, bring your girl, whatever. Where would be your ultimate spring break destination?
I think you got to hit up. You got to go with your buddies. You got to go on a cruise in the Caribbean. It's a perfect time. The weather's gonna be nice and warm outside. You've got all you can eat food, so you're gonna be well fed. A lot of good activities, a lot of good excursions. I think spring break is the perfect time. Get to some warmer weather. It should be nice and sunny outside. So go get on a cruise, especially with that money, because those things aren't cheap.
I thought there was no order in cross.
laughing before. There's no.
Well, look, if I'm finding a beach somewhere, you know, I'm posting up on the sand, I'm setting up a rod, I'm tossing it way out there, and I'm waiting for a big shark to bite. And you know, it doesn't have to be a shark, but you know, I'm just posting up, you know, I'm just hanging out with my buddies, and you know, with Warren Buffett's, you know, budget, I'm going somewhere cool. I'm going to the, you know, give me the Dominican Republic, or you know, the Cuban coast, or you know, you know, or a beach somewhere in Spain, you know. But I'm finding a beach somewhere with my boys, and we're hanging out and we're having a good time.
You know, we're all here at TSTV Sports. We're all gonna go to Hawaii. You know, the whole squad, we're going to Hawaii. Water sports are there, surfing, jet skiing, you name it, beach volleyball. But then there's also a ton of basketball played in Hawaii. Come on, like the college basketball Hawaii Classic that you see at the beginning of the year. The Hawaii Bowl for football. There's football fields. We can go throw the pigskin with Marcus Mariota. We could do it all. I'm sure.
With Ikey's arm, man. Ikey's gonna be throwing the darts down.
Yeah, exactly. All the sports are down there. Basketball, water sports, football. I'm sure there's a baseball field. Obviously, it's Hawaii. What do they not have? We could play anything down there, and you know, or just chillax on the beach. You know, it's gonna be Hawaii.
All right. Wonderful way to close out the show, guys. I don't think there's any wrong answer for a spring beach vacation, by the way. But as you all know, there can only be one winner. Tonight's College Crossfire champion is... He was confident behind the scenes last week. He wins it tonight, Robert Gonsulin. Robert, congratulations. Justin, do we have time for FaceTime?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Robert, take it away.
I told them last week I would get it done in the studio room. We got it done tonight. There we go. No, I'm just kidding. Lots of fun before this. Tommy, great host. Anthony Richardson's going to take it all the way in the draft this year. He's a great player, you know, good host, good answers, everyone all around. That was a great episode.
We were planning on spraying. This is not for the FCC watching water gun, not John Morant. We were planning on spraying our winner tonight, but for the sake of our gorgeous curtain back here, we'll refrain from that. Robert, congratulations on the victory. Love the confidence, and thanks to Adam and Ikey for coming out and joining us tonight. Always a great time right before spring break as well. That's going to do it for us here in the TSTV studios. Before you go, make sure to come back Friday mornings for the 1-0 Sports Show, and when we come back from spring break, Monday nights for College Press Box. Thank you to our live studio audience for all coming out and being great as usual tonight. For our contestants, everyone in Master Control, executive producer Jordan Gilhood, and all the great folks at TSTV minus Edley Tamilian, my name is Tommy Yarrish saying good night, and we'll see you next time.
Good answers. I had to put the glasses on.